All right. Good morning, friends. Welcome to this month's Mardi Gras version of Startup Resources series. Uh, it is Mardi Gras today, so I encourage everyone to eat, drink, and be merry today, if you so choose. We are delighted to have you all here for our Startup Resources series for February. We've got a great topic we're going to talk about today shortly. For those of you that are series subscribers, of course, thank you for coming back and joining us. And for those of you that are new to our series, we welcome you. And I'm going to go ahead and give a quick rundown of our agenda this morning. I'm Lisa Bajornis. I'm with KSTC, and I have the pleasure of leading our innovation hubs. And together with our friends over at the Cabinet for Economic Development in the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, we bring this series to you. We certainly have a large audience this morning of primarily our innovation hubs, as well as entrepreneurial support organizations across the state. But by all means, this is a series where any of our startup founders are certainly welcome to join us. So we're glad that you're here. I have just a couple of preliminary announcements that I'll mention, and then we're going to get right into it. We are going to talk about a topic that we've never had in our series, which is really around venture studios and the services that a particular venture studio offers. But before we jump into that, we also want to note that this series has changed times for 2026. We are now the third Tuesday of each month at 11 o'clock Eastern Time or 10 o'clock Central Time. So we do have a time change. And David Brock, with the Cabinet for Economic Development, is able to join us once a quarter. So he is busy today testifying in front of the legislature. So we wish him all luck and hope that is going well on behalf of entrepreneurship across the state. So let's move right on. I do want to just remind everyone that you are certainly welcome to go to the library of all of our Startup Resource Series webinars. We do save those to our kstc.com site. Go to that particular site and you can click on our initiatives, click on the innovation hubs, and just scroll right down. You will see all of the previous startup series webinars. You can see the topics there. So anything that you would like to review again, or maybe you've missed one or would like to share one, you're welcome to do that. All right, let's get right into it. I am really excited, again, as I said, for this particular topic. This is all about expanding entrepreneurship through an AI-powered venture studio. And while I talk a little bit in general about a venture studio, I'm going to stop sharing so that my new friend Erich can go ahead and pull up any slides that you have. Good morning, Erich.
Good morning.
I was really pleased to have Jen Callahan, who's with our Amplify Innovation Hub, make an introduction of Erich to me. We've had a great conversation back and forth about today's topic. In general, I want to make sure that venture studio, that particular phrase, is familiar to you all. A venture studio, which might also be referred to as a startup studio, a company builder, a venture builder, is an organization that is systematically creating startups from the ground up. So rather than just simply funding them as a venture firm might, or a more traditional venture capital firm, they are working right in the trenches with those founders from the ground up. A venture studio is certainly a company that builds multiple startups using shared resources, talent, capital, infrastructure, etc. And certainly we're going to hear how they are different from, let's say, incubators or co-working spaces or accelerators or even venture capital firms. So I am, again, thrilled to have Erich to join us. Erich is the COO of Builders and Backers. They're the first AI-powered venture studio designed to help anyone transform their ideas into thriving businesses. And they really fill that critical gap in the startup pipeline, supporting people from the pre-founder stage and all the way forward along their entrepreneurial pathway. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Erich. I'm going to ask anyone who might have questions for Erich, drop those in the chat. I'll facilitate those either as we go, or we can handle those at the end, whichever makes more sense. And Erich, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to turn it over to you, and welcome.
Pleasure. Thank you, Lisa. And yeah, it's been great to meet you as well, and very excited to be invited to join all of you today. So thank you. I just wanted to basically say it's been a pleasure to learn more about all the great work that's being done in the Commonwealth. Being in Virginia, we're also a Commonwealth, so enjoy always saying that as well. So it's a great group of people, and you guys are doing amazing work, and so we're really excited about our ability to spend some time with all of you. I just want to start with a simple observation. In every community, I'm just going to move my screen here for 1 second. Sorry. I have a bad reflection, so see if that works. Is that better? Okay. In every community, there are builders that will never walk into your office, that you will never see, not because they don't care, not because they don't have ideas, but because they're still exploring quietly. Maybe they're 45 minutes away from where you live. Maybe they're a rural part of your region. Maybe they can't make 6 p.m. events across town, late nights, between shifts, etc., on weekends. And maybe they're not ready to call themselves founders just yet. They're building quietly. They have great potential, and they really need some help. And I know many of you are thinking, how do I reach these people? How do make entrepreneurship feel accessible to someone who doesn't yet see themselves as a founder? Because there's so much untapped entrepreneurial capacity sitting in every community. People with lived experiences. Can you still see my screen? I'm sorry. You can. Okay, great. People with lived experiences, people who see problems up close, people who want to build meaningful companies, but they haven't found a way to take that first step. And that's where we're focused. Builder Studio, as Lisa mentioned, is the first AI-powered venture platform built from thousands of hours of real entrepreneurial conversations, sequencing practical experiments and embedding into intelligent system. We help people explore ideas privately, test quickly, learn about doing, and build confidence. Often before they apply for a program, think about applying for a pitch competition or setting up their organization. And our goal is simple: to help you reach more builders in your community, expand at the very top of your pipeline, and unlock entrepreneurial potential that's currently untapped. And that's really what we want to jump into. So I thought if I can jump into the screen, is the Builders and Backers screen? I can't see both. I'm sorry. Do you see my screen, Lisa?
We do. It still says it's still on your title slide.
Oh, okay, excellent. Thank you. Again, sorry, my camera here is not. This is awkward. I apologize. Okay, great. So I'll just go through a couple of quick examples of some people that you've probably seen in your community all the time. So Nick's an attorney, mostly working in disabled issues for disability, and realized there might be a smart way to use AI to assist in how they file claims on part of their clients. We started working with builders and backers to build an idea and a program. He's now raised a significant amount of money, has paying customers, et cetera. But he didn't know where to start. And while he's an active attorney, he's got a full-time job. How was he being seen? And because of his work, he didn't necessarily want to let people know what he was thinking about. Reno, same. She has great skills, former Nordstrom employee, moved to a rural part of Tennessee, wanted to figure out work, liked to bake macaroons, and started using our Builder Studio. And then rather than opening just a store in our small town, she actually invented the first macaroon vending machine, of which now she's franchising. There's multiple locations around Nashville, and she'll be launching more nationally soon. And our last one is Shaniqua, who wanted to figure out a smarter way that other people could manage returns, not just easy returns that we can do with Amazon now, but any part of the country. She lived in a part of the US that it was not easy where she was to make returns, and driving was far. So she invented her own new system for this as well. These aren't necessarily high tech AI driven Bitcoin or chatbots and things like that. These are everyday innovators who have ideas, who see a problem that they want to go after, but they don't know where to begin. And this is where we come in with, because of the fact there are millions of Americans every day who have an idea and never know where to start, and they simply sit on the sidelines. We did a research study with the University of Michigan and discovered roughly 62% of Americans have an idea. So, these people, they're at your kids' soccer games, a cocktail party, your coworker, a relative that says, somebody should do this. I have this idea. Why doesn't this exist? They don't, again, think of themselves as entrepreneurs. They might not even know the word entrepreneur. But these are the real people that can solve real problems. They see an issue and they want to go after it. The problem is the system isn't necessarily reaching everyone. I think part of it is they're not raising their hand. They're not going to meetups. They're not going to startup events. They don't know that an ESO exists in their community. And, or again, they might not want to tell people what they're working on because they have a full-time job. They're afraid to announce themselves publicly that this is something that they're working on. And timing doesn't always work for everyone, as we mentioned at the beginning. Being able to show up for cohorts, to apply, to do pitch competitions, et cetera. So it's really all the work that you're already doing, but how do we get more? How do we reach more people and bring them in? And this is where the formation of Builder Studio came in. So the idea is here, we have people that are in all kinds of different parts of their life. They're domain experts in a specific industry. They're changing their careers. I live outside of Washington, D.C. 40,000 federal employees have lost their jobs. They're highly skilled and have done one job for a long time. But now they need to find a new path. And maybe entrepreneurship is, again, not something that they'd always considered. Outside of being consultant for the same industry, they might find other things. You could be a skilled worker, own an HVAC company, and you figured out a new tool. That would be great, but you don't know where to start or think of yourself as someone who could do this. And of course, our youth and students and university students and community colleges are great repositories for people who have an idea, think they're on a career path for an education, but maybe entrepreneurship is the path for them. And so Builders Backers, we've just rethought about how this can be done, at least from the very beginning. We want to be an on-ramp for anyone to then work with accelerators, incubators, get started, and be better prepared so they have a clear, concise idea of the business that they want to build. Maybe figure out it's actually not what they thought, and there could be a pivot. How do we open their aperture to think about something bigger, broader, or different? And then when they do apply to work with you all or look for resources in the human connection and the specificity, excuse me, I can't say the word, they're in a much better position to really leverage the resources that you all provide, whether it's from the Commonwealth, the innovation hubs, and the acceleration ESOs around the country. And so we do this a number of different ways. And so what we've done is taken thousands of hours of real mentorship, human interactions, and we've created agentic AI agents. So we've trained specifically agents on, and I'll show you in a minute what, where, and what. But now these are trained to help someone from ideation all the way through an experiment, specifically around their idea. We do not give them the answers. This is not put in ChatGPT and it'll tell you what to do. This is a question and answer back and forth with this specific built agents that then guide you through a logical process. So we have workflows to kind of carry someone through that. Again, we don't use jargon. We don't talk about the job to be done or a lean canvas. We use words that most people know. The conversation is actually written at an 8th grade reading level. So it's quite simple and obvious so that we're kind of taking out some of that component. We do have a human in the loop component as well, where we have what we call builders in residence that support these entrepreneurs. So they can raise their hand and say, I need some help. And then they can have an online human component connection as well. But a lot of times people working nights and weekends, they get motivated on a long weekend like we just had. They start at 11 o'clock at night and they can have 3 full days of productivity before they're trying to schedule their time with someone early. And again, the idea here is that they can have a clean, repeatable, and logical paths. So when they do meet with you all, or they're coming to apply, or they want to take down space or whatever it may be, they're in a better spot. We do have a program, which I can talk at the end, is micro learning. And that's really where we provide bite-sized action-driven content to each one of them. So there's, along with your chat interface, there's also videos, short videos, 90 seconds to 2 minutes, that are highly relevant exactly to what you're working on. So you can go back and forth. You're not having to jump out and do Google searches, et cetera. And of course, integration with community events, locations, et cetera. This is what Builder Studio looks like. And so this is the very first one here on our idea validation. So I start by, let's dig into the problem. What's my idea? What am I trying to solve? A little bit on competition, what's already out there. So sometimes people aren't always obvious, or a simple Google search doesn't surface this. Where is the real need to help hone in? What are the good ideas? How do we turn good ideas into great ones? What must be true for this to actually work? We design a quick test, our minimal violent experiment, make the plan, and actually launch the test and give the feedback. And so it's really a portion of don't take down alone. ChatGPT would tell you to build a $20,000 MVP, create an LLC, get your URL, get your swag. We're way before that. We want to stop everyone. Let's back it up and really hone in on what's the problem, what's the opportunity, and get true customer validation and information. And we all know the entrepreneurs, your first idea is not always the best, and people hold their ideas really tightly. And so this is a way to have this honest conversation back and forth to get them in a better spot to be able to share. And a little bit more of what I described earlier. Over here, we have what we call our playlist, so idea validation, after they've completed these sections here. And some are unlocked as you go through, some you can't. So we keep slow down. Let's back up. And so you can finish some things you can work on simultaneously. And then once you've completed that, you can go into customer discovery, market analysis, bootstrapping, applying to an accelerator, how to raise capital, et cetera. This is the section I was referencing here, with these short videos that are specific to as you work through the process. So that you'll have a chance to learn quickly, reference other ports of reference in our library. And then down here is if you want to schedule a virtual meeting. A lot of times people don't do that immediately. They work through a lot of their problems, but that still is an availability. This section also could be replaced with scheduling a meeting directly with you all. And so your organizations could provide the human in the loop component as well. And this is, again, not to read it all. I'm sorry, the formatting here is a little bit off. I apologize. But these are the kind of things we're trying to do. Talk to potential customers. How big is my market? Do I apply for a grant? And do I go and try to do a pitch competition? Is this a venture backable business? How do I find my first customers, et cetera? So again, a lot of the services that are provided today in the human in their markets, but we're providing an overall framework for them to go and experiment on their own. And so the idea is, how do we take the opportunity of providing access for people no matter where they are? So many of our customers are in rural parts of the United States. They don't have access to local support systems. Again, their life circumstances might dictate that they can't take down a co-working space or be able to meet with their entrepreneur residents in person on a timely basis. And so we really want to make it easy for anyone to be able to do this. Just a quick on how we kind of work together. And so everything from a complete like city, let's say universal on-ramp. So for instance, Tulsa is an example, but New Orleans as well. It's a cohort of organizations that say, let's build a program together across various stages. And we service the first on-ramp portion to the pre-accelerator component for the education for entrepreneurs to help them do that. Sponsored access is when someone pays for someone to have access to the Builder Studio, and that's philanthropic. In this case, you can see here, TCU, the business school of TCU provides it for their entrepreneurship students, the Governor's Cup in Arkansas for all the people in their semifinalists for their pitch competition for college students. We have referral program partnerships as well. Our friends at Gradient in Tulsa providing is a core member benefit to all of their members for access to Builder Studio at a discounted rate, so that the members still pay themselves, but there's a discounted rate. And the last component here, example, here's what we're doing with Northeast Alabama Community College. They have someone running their entrepreneurship work who is more of a practitioner than or a manager than an entrepreneurship practitioner. So we can provide all the back end services as it relates to it. So we serve as the entrepreneurial component. They're doing more of the connectivity, the meetings, the meetups, etc. And this is the last part here, which is would love to figure out a way if these are things that make sense and could be helpful to you all. Would love to be able to connect and figure out how to work together. I'll
Thank
go
you
ahead and
so
stop
much,
sharing
Erich.
screen.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I thought it being very important for all of our state, particularly for our ecosystem builders, to have an awareness of familiarity or at least an introduction to what a venture studio is in a more national model. I think what is intriguing to all of us is the fact that, you know, many of us work with specific tech-enabled early stage companies. Ideally, we like them to be at this stage, let's say, where they are approaching a prototype or an MVP. But for those founders that are, well, don't even know they're a founder yet, or an entrepreneur, in those very earliest, you know, just mindset of, I think I have an idea, no idea how, when, where to begin. This is, I think, perhaps a valuable resource, as you said, at that very top level of funnel. And if there can be some strong education, training, understanding of a methodology, even just understanding the language that we use, of course, in our entrepreneurial everyday business, that can be so much helpful, so very helpful for a more qualified, you know, startup that might come and seek the services of any of our innovation hubs or other ESOs here. I think where Builders and Backers excels is in really having those innovators understand the role, the value, and the process by which to go about online customer validation through many of your online coursework, moving them milestone through milestone progression, and getting that early validation, which is really the primer to lean startup methodology, having that understanding and being able to execute that and having that data, as I always refer to it, in a validated fashion, right? Is this idea worthwhile pursuing? Is there a market for this? What does that market size look like? You know, what might be the various different approaches? Do I really understand the problem, right? And also, I think in helping founders, entrepreneurs understand the value of de-risking the venture before they get started. And certainly your methodology enables that, allows that to happen. So if I had to articulate, I guess, some of the value proposition and how this kind of fits hand in hand with a lot of the work our organizations are doing across the state, that's how I see the whole ecosystem expanding, right? Certainly the value with a lot of your AI-powered tools and components, quite valuable as well. We do have a couple questions have come into the chat here. Where do you see veterans thrive with starting their businesses?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And we have done the prior work before we built Builder Studio was based on a cohort base. So a city, a family foundation, a university would pay, and we'd run specific cohorts. So like we're all familiar with, and we have run veteran specific cohorts, a nationwide cohort for Call for Ideas for veterans or their spouses. And so that was paid for by a national organization supporting veterans. And so I think that's a great example. So you have a highly skilled set of skills. You retire, and how do I either apply those or quick learner, smart, disciplined, and figure out a path forward. And so veterans are actually a big part of our customer base today because of that level of creativity, moving back to where they're from, et cetera. And so would love to explore more veteran-specific conversations because we do have a lot of experience with that. But I think this is endemic with the idea of like, I don't know where to start. I don't necessarily have the support system or the network. I don't necessarily identify myself or I fall into the trap that everything has to feel and look like tech when maybe it's a product or a service that's not
Right.
related. And so would
Certainly.
love to be able to figure out smart ways to do that.
Yeah. So for a team, a founder team, so the startup themselves, if they were interested in perhaps pursuing participation, what does that fee structure typically look like?
Yeah, so it's $30 a month for access to Builder Studio and everything that I showed you. Again, we're talking at the idea stage
Mhm.
right now, probably for most people, although there are services at the back end for others, or $300 a year for an annual subscription. The way it's built now, especially at this first part, it's a single login. We are building team functionalities so you can work together. There is something about the nature of the conversation and the chat component that feels very natural, as if you're sitting with an entrepreneur, and we haven't quite figured out how someone can parachute into a middle of a conversation. And so we're still working in that component as well. So what teams typically do is they share a single login. People use the same tools,
Right.
log in the same way. And we're working on permissions and availability and updates.
Okay, good. Thank you. How do you decide eventually what to invest in or what to build next?
Yeah, what's interesting is because we're starting at the beginning of the formation of an idea, we're co-building with them with the tools. We're seeing everything, and so I think one, we can see who has high potential and high growth potential opportunity, but also maybe who's struggling. So we're able to insert ourselves in a way to say, it looks like you're a bit off track. How do we reorientate? And then at the end, you'll have a good sense of, is this something that people want, and can I get paid for it? We also see a large chunk of people say, what I experimented on is not going to work, but I want to pivot. I'm going to make a small change, or I'm going to scrap it. But as we all know, with people who are entrepreneurs and founders, everyone has multiple ideas. So
Mhm.
oftentimes people just start again and they start with their
Yeah.
new idea that's very different. And so on the opportunity to invest, everyone then can apply for our venture studio as it relates to continued funding. And that support looks more traditional, as Lisa described at the beginning, which would be accounting, marketing, technology, et cetera, how we help build the company with them. And so it varies. But because we're idea agnostic, it ranges from, again, services businesses all the way to we have an ocean wave energy company. We have an AI company, two or three different AI companies, but also
Mhm.
hair extensions, the macaroni vending machine that we mentioned earlier as well, a new off-road vehicle. So it's a bit about not only the process, but also the results of their experiments to give us a sense of
Right.
the opportunity.
Yeah. Um, is this something that's open to just everyone that approaches you? Are there certain metrics that you're looking for? What do you specifically look for in a founder that you take on?
Yeah, I mean, it's for the first part is anybody that gets online and signs up can get started today. So there are no gates or requirements. And I think that was one of our challenges, is that while we were running cohorts, it was, if you miss the cohort, do you wait to the next one 6 months later? Do I sit on my idea? Am I still 2 years later talking about the same idea? We wanted to be able to give an opportunity for more people to jump in faster and scale. And so that was the first part of it. The last part is the 8 to 10 companies that we'll select each year to make further investments in and bring into our venture studio model. Again, will vary on opportunity and what we see. And so that would be slightly different. We'd have more of an application process, but because we started at the beginning, we're not completely outside the idea of making investments in company that didn't start with the Builder Studio, but of course we have a great advantage of co-building with them already along the way.
Of course. How long has the AI studio been in existence, and how many cohorts have you conducted?
Yeah, the company Builders Backers has been in business for almost 5 years now. So operating all across the country, launched over
Mhm.
600 companies from it, and tens of thousands of hours of these conversations, which built the studio. The Builder Studio, the AI version, has now been out for 4 months. As we continue to ramp up. So we're purposeful, and we're drinking our own Kool-Aid, if you will, of how do we build the business? How do we keep it scrappy? How do we constantly take in information,
Right.
iterate, and pivot? And so that has been that process as well. And so it's a bit mixed on, because we don't run cohorts anymore. It's always on and always active. So as
Right.
people come on and they drop off, some people, because of the experiment time, this is the kind of offline version, if you will.
Hmm. Hmm.
You figure out your experiment, and actually running it will depend on the individual. So some people
Right.
work it in 30 days, and some people are still working on it 6 months later. It really
Yeah.
depends on the person themselves.
Right. Absolutely. What happens after the team finishes the idea development stage? What do they move on to then next? What's the next step for them?
Yeah, and it really kind of depends what the results of their experiment are, but it could be, do I get funding? How do I go get customers? How do I go on to the next level? And so I could pull up quickly, if I can share again on the screen, the
Sure.
different validation levels, if that's easier. And I can show kind of what the boards look like. We could do that super fast. I know we're a little bit on time here, so let me,
You're good.
okay. Okay, so let me share the screen again. Okay. If you can see this, so this is the first part here. So after they finish their validation and they've gone
Mm-hmm.
through all this, plan your next move, you can go into customer discovery, which have multiple agents here as well, your market assessment, how to raise money, what it is to apply for accelerator, is it right for you, and what are the programs, and then continuing more work. So bootstrapping is the next one that we'll release later this week. And so you can see that there's multiple opportunities here for people to, let me go back to the screen, to jump in. The idea validation, the first part that we talk about, is the longest. So you could see a little bit here. You get into a conversation. This is an example of someone said, college students have to pick a roommate like their second semester, their freshman year. Is there a better way to match up people to find them? Here you can jump into your quick videos. And at the end, you can see the long conversation here. You're left with a clear idea of what my problem discovery is, and then you move on to the next agent.
Okay, very helpful. And then I've got just one final question here that's come in through the chat that we'll take. Let's see. What do you look for? What do any of your investments look like for you? Tell us a little bit about that investment thesis.
I mean, I think it's a unique and novel idea is really what we're trying to focus on. And so it's as much about scale as it is about opportunity to create something new.
Hmm.
And so it's not necessarily that it's going to be the largest. I think the underlying thesis, Donna, who's the founder, Donna Harris, was the executive director of something called Startup America Partnership. It was a public-private partnership with the White House. And how do we get more entrepreneurs working? But the idea is that we need more starts. We need more people starting businesses. And so that's really kind of at the core for us. It's not so much the one unicorn. It's really scalable business that are repeatable and replicable about others so that we're creating more jobs,
Right.
frankly, more tax revenue for others, but also an opportunity for people to have a lifelong career related to entrepreneurship. That's really what the goals are. So
Right.
again, we want something unique, and we want how do we the best
Right.
returns we can. But I think the first part there is how do we make this happen
Right.
for as many
Absolutely
people as
makes
possible.
sense. We often talk about more shots on goal, right? We just need more chances at bats so that we can just hit those, those base hits, get all the way around. Hopefully, we've got more opportunities for those home runs. Certainly, I can see where this would be incredibly appealing to some of our more rural areas of the state, and particularly our innovation hubs and other ESOs that really live day in and day out in those more rural areas, and just looking for those value add startup resources that can increase those opportunities in any of our regions. And collectively, as you know, this raises all boats and is good for Kentucky. So anyway,
Absolutely.
Erich, thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that introduction to builders and backers. I know that you're going to share with us your slide deck. We will be sure to share those out with our attendees today. We'll also post those to our Slack community. So thank you so much for your time. We
Great.
appreciate it.
Thank you, and welcome to connect with any of you if this resonates or is interest. Happy to discuss, and we have multiple different ways that we can launch partnerships. And so, if this is something that's of interest, would love to learn more. So, thank you
Awesome.
again. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.
All right. With that, let's see. It is, again, as part of our agenda, we always like to bring one of our innovation hubs forward and share with you the highlights that they have in driving founder growth and success from their region. So today, we've got Dave Knox, he's Executive Director of Blue North. And I am really excited to have Dave. Dave moves around and is always in someplace different within Spark House. So we are excited to have you, Dave.
Happy to join. So this is actually the Blue North conference room, so it works out well.
Great.
Perfect. So walk through a quick update on what we've got going on here in the world of Blue North. So first, as a reminder for everyone, Blue North is the innovation hub for Northern Kentucky. So that's our focus from geographic. And we really have three parts to our mission: be the front door for entrepreneurs, a champion for Northern Kentucky founders, and the catalyst for economic growth in our region, really with that focus of high growth companies and venture-backed startups. We support all of entrepreneurs in Northern Kentucky. We're really believers, help connect with wherever you might need the help and whatever that might look like. But in particular, we kind of say it's high growth startups ready to scale, entrepreneurship through acquisition, and then companies and brands with that potential for a national reach. That's our sweet spot and really what we focus on as an innovation hub. With that, a couple of updates of what we've got going on. As Lisa mentioned, I'm always jumping around a different place here in Spark House. We're now 5 months in, and the impact has been really remarkable across the board for the power of physical infrastructure when it comes to supporting entrepreneurship. We're now at over 100 events that we've hosted since we opened our doors. Over 3,000 attendees at those. Overall, from a membership standpoint, we're up to 350 plus members across startups, remote companies, growth stage. And last week, we hit our milestone of being 100% occupied in our private offices and just a handful of dedicated desks remaining as well. So we've blown away our all of our expectations across the board of what this place-based impact could really look like, and the collisions that we're able to drive across the board. Next fun piece of news is about 2 weeks ago, we announced that Northern Kentucky Be Entrepreneurial. So this is part of the effort from Right to Start and America the Entrepreneurial campaign. Both Blue North and Spark House previously joined as founding partners. We joined alongside, I know Amplify in Louisville is also a founding partner. But then we took it a step further and we reached out to our local government, and we were able to get the engagement of Kenton County, Boone County, and Campbell County to jointly give us the ability to sign up as a founding community for this. So this is what allowed us to be the official mark as Northern Kentucky the Entrepreneurial, really capture a lot of the efforts that we're doing for engaging policy support across the board. And most exciting, we were the first community in both Kentucky and Ohio to have the official community designation to get the government on board to support this. Next thing we got going on is in a week and a half, we're going to be doing our second release of the Entrepreneurial Spark. This was an experiment we did last year with New Riff as one of our great entrepreneurial stories here in the community. Ken Lewis is probably one of our top founders across the board. Also just finishing up as a chairman for the KDA for Kentucky. And last year we did a two barrel blend that ended up raising over $11,000 for the Northern Kentucky Entrepreneur Fund. Also was one of our largest events of the year with exceeding the capacity that was allowed at the Aquifer, which is at New Riff's distillery. This year we're going to be bringing it back. We're actually adding one more barrel, so we'll have 3 barrels this year that will be blended, should give us just over 500 bottles. Last year, it sold out in 24 hours, so I'm hoping we still hit that same mark. And it should be able to drive around $15,000 to $18,000 of donations for the Entrepreneur Fund, so we can in turn go back and reinvest and support entrepreneurs. We have a few spots left for the happy hour, so you can sign up at the Luma link that will be in the deck. And then the bottles will go on sale through the e-commerce link on Friday, the 27th at 11 a.m. So you can grab your bottle through New Riff, and we'll be promoting that next week. And then final thing I just want to call out is our efforts around our student talent pipeline. So this has been a big focus for Blue North over the last 2 years. 3 years ago, we launched the inaugural Student Venture Capital Summit. That was an effort that Reese Watson led for us. We had it again last year. That's going to be coming up for its third year on Friday, March 27th. That is open to all students in any university across the region. Last year, we had 15 different universities from Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and West Virginia participate. So we're hoping we can exceed that again this year. Along with that, we've started a new effort called the Startup University. This has been taking place every Friday morning at 9 a.m. here at Spark House, both in person and virtual. And this was inspired by Tim Metzner, who's a partner at Fire Road Ventures. Tim was teaching a class at University of Cincinnati last spring and was just frankly frustrated that no one other than UC students were able to attend. So we decided to make it an open enrollment this year. We moved that class here to Spark House. And every week we're featuring an amazing guest speaker that can talk about their entrepreneurial journey. We've been averaging 30 to 35 attendees at every single one. So we're hoping to continue to increase that and just create a really fun opportunity for people to join. We've also, interestingly with that, had 2 universities that are giving independent credit for their students if they attend at least 75% of the events. So trying to do what we can to move that battleship that is the higher education across the board. So that's what we got going on the world of Blue North.
And it's a lot. We appreciate all that you are hosting, leading, looking as early and young as your university innovators all the way through your pipeline. Thank you, Dave, so much for sharing the latest with Blue North. And we certainly look forward to that March 27th date for your Student Venture Capital Summit. Thank you for that. All right, I am going to share with you all some upcoming dates that you may want to just mark down on your calendar. This is across the board, just a couple that I'll highlight. Sprocket, of course, every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Central has their coffee hour at Sprocket to gather. SOAR in our Eastern region is holding a legal clinic for entrepreneurs later this week. Amplify is hosting Speed Meeting later this week for networking at Louisville Slugger. You heard about the Startup University series. Please do take note that this year's Awesome Inc. 5 Across Pitch competition is kicking off Wednesday, February 25th at 5 at the Main on Main in Lexington for this first batch. Create's got their Startup Garden later this month on February 26th at the Innovation Campus. And of course, Sprocket is working together with Owensboro for that opportunity for the Founders on Tap event, March 3rd, Amplify's Venture Connectors, March 4th. And across the state, we have the rescheduled Kentucky Inno Startups to Watch 2026 recognition. This is a great networking opportunity. It's in Louisville at Ice House. That is rescheduled now for March 5th at 4:30. And there are a nice, excellent batch of early stage companies with a lot of high growth promise that have been tapped for that particular list and for us to get to know. So we thank you for all those nominations, and we want to recognize and celebrate the companies that have made the Startups to Watch list. And then finally, you can join us again next month, March 17th, for our March edition of our Startup Resources series. Thank you so much, everyone. We will certainly follow up and get this webinar recording as well as the slide decks out to you and share those. Hope everybody has a great day and enjoy Mardi Gras. Take care, everybody. Thank you.